What is up? It's your boy JNW Boss in the building, and from the looks of things, it looks like TNA episode 1 is a great success. And which is good. I'm glad people are liking it, and yes, there will be a second episode coming out sometime soon. If not this week, then hopefully next week. TNA is out here, okay? It's out here. People are obviously liking it. It's got like close to 80 something views on this channel. That's awesome. AOA and AOR, they're not going anywhere. They're going to come back. They're going to come back. We're going to be fine. But that's not what I'm really here to talk about. Well, and sort of, it ties into it a little bit. Making a first impression with a character. Now, whenever you're debuting a character to your show, call, otherwise, you always want them to do something memorable. Make that first impression. So we're going to talk about how do you build a character from point A of him debuting to like point B, he's world champion, main event level, whatever the deal. This point A to point B. Now I'm going to address this from two different parts. I'm going to kind of break this thing down into two parts. Because sometimes you have characters that come in and you kind of just want to put them right there in that main event spot straight away. That's fine. If you want to do that, that's fine. So I'm going to talk about that piece, and then I'm going to talk about how you bring a character in whenever when people don't really know who they are yet. So let's cover bringing somebody in if people don't know who they are yet, and then we'll get into bringing in an established name, if that makes sense. So let's get into it here. Okay, if you're bringing somebody in brand new, one thing you always want to do is make a good first impression. Whether that be you put them over on commentary, be like, yeah, we saw him here, he was a great athlete, whatever. Give a little bit of his backstory, whatever. And you have them make a good first impression. Whether that just be putting on a good match with whoever you put them against. Let them show off their moveset a bit. Let them show off, a little bit of what they can do. And then if possible, you even have them kind of do something memorable in that first time out. Now, it doesn't have to be against a main event guy. You don't have to do that. But, like, have them in there against a guy that, A, you can feel match up well with him. And B, you can get something good out of. Like, for instance, as far as, like, a memorable moment. Whenever Darren debuted, Andre Richardson was about to make a dive over the top rope at Darren, and Darren super kicked him. Pretty memorable moment, and that ended the match. So, stuff like that. You have them get in, get their feet wet a little bit, and you have them do something memorable. You get their character over a little bit, you get their personality over, you get some of their moves over a bit. That's basically what you use the first little bit to do, to make that first impression, to get people interested in the character, and you do your job on commentary to be like, yeah, this dude got a bright future here in AOA, or whatever your show name. I just said AOA because that's my show. But like, you put them over on commentary, not only on the mic, but in the ring as well. Get their personality over. That's number one. Alright, cool. You got your first impressions and stuff out of the way. What do you do from here, right? You got your first impression. People are starting to dig them. You elevate their game. Here's how you elevate their game. You elevate their game by putting them in the storyline. You elevate their game by... And by the way, your first storyline for the character, it doesn't have to be all super in-depth. Like, I'll give you an example. With Darren, I had him in a storyline with Andre Richardson. Wasn't really much. Andre was just embarrassed that the new up-and-coming kid beat him. So, he wins. And, they feud for like a couple of weeks. And then they have a match at Onslaught. Darren wins. Not a long match. Darren won. But then I kind of added a wrinkle to that storyline of Tony Woods coming out and knocking out Darren. And then it ended up being him and Andre versus... Darren and eventually Destry, because Darren was Destry and Darren's brother or whatever the deal. So they formed a little tag team. It's a tag team match. Darren and Destry win. We move on. Fine for a feud for Darren, right? And then from there you kind of continue to elevate them. You always elevate with your character. Like, you don't have them continue to face undercard guys forever. You elevate them. You move them up to the mid card from there. Maybe you have them get a couple of more undercard wins, then you move them up to the mid card. You start feuding with some guys there, and then maybe from there you maybe have them feud for a mid card championship. Just a possibility. I mean, you probably have them start feuding for a mid-card championship or whatever the deal. So then you have the character in matches where they're kind of taken into deep waters a bit. Maybe they lose a match. Maybe they're in a ring with a guy who maybe don't really know, that they don't really know what to do with, what to do against. You know what I'm saying? So you continue to elevate the game. You continue to move them up, elevate the game, and you do things like that. But while you're doing that, I want you to do something else as well. First impressions out of the way. People are well established. You're elevating their game. You got them in storyline. But while you're doing all that, make sure they have that breakout moment. That moment that everybody looks at them. Maybe it was a spot in the match that people remember, like, yo, I remember when he did that. That was really good. Or I remember when he had this great match with this particular person. Or I remember when he cut this really, really good promo. It doesn't have to be match based. It can be a cool segment that really highlighted his humor or his personality. It could have been a promo that he cut that was really good. It could have been a match that was really good. You know what I'm saying? So have them have that breakout moment. Whatever it is. Maybe they have a match and they end up leaving that match looking like an MVP. You know what I'm saying? Have them have that breakout moment, because it's moments like that when people are going to really take a look at both guys and be like, oh, that's what they can do? Oh, snap. Because I'll give you an example. A2J, Johnny Rivers, two guys who you can argue in AOA are doing great. And you can tell they're so close to breaking through that glass ceiling to hit main event level that it's crazy. It's crazy. Don't worry, I got some plan for them too going into season 2. But it's crazy. And the match to me I feel there are two matches that I feel that made people really take a look at them. The match at Next Level, which was great. That was like a lot of people's first, eye-opening glimpse of those two. And then their 30-minute Iron Man match, which main evented Onslaught because of how I structured the card. Now, even if it didn't main event Onslaught, it still would have been a breakout moment for those two because that was an epic match that they had. However, it doesn't always have to be a match. It could have been a promo. It could have been a segment. Whatever. Make sure they have that moment where people look at them and like, wow, that's what they can do? And then when you really feel like you got the ball rolling with somebody, well, I'll get to that in a moment. Let's bring that to point number 3. So you got their first impression, you've elevated their game, you gave them their breakout moment, and then you strike while the iron's hot. Let me say this, that's the problem that WWE has in real life. They don't strike while the iron's hot. Look at Braun Strowman. I mean, seriously, that dude should have been won the Universal Championship like 3 or 4 times by now. And he hasn't. And the problem is, they didn't strike while the iron was hot. You strike while the iron is hot with your character. Even if it means potentially changing other plans that you had, do it. You take that flame while you got it and you run with it. Darren, perfect example. He was not supposed to, I don't know if I said this during the AOA Season 1 discussion thing, but he was not supposed to be the one to beat Monster. I was originally not going to have it be him to face Monster for that World Championship and take the belt off of him. It was originally going to be Reaper because I was going to have Forsaken cost him the belt and whatever the deal, but it ended up being Darren. Why? Because all the momentum he had from breaking boundaries, and then he was the final 2 during the match at World Collide, and he got the win for his team, no less. And so at that moment, Darren was just red hot, and if I didn't capitalize, his world title reign wouldn't have been wouldn't have been as memorable as it was. So you strike while the iron's hot with your character. And it doesn't even have to be with the world title. Maybe you have a character that's booming, and you want to give him a mid-card title to really cement himself first. You give him that mid-card title. You give him that title or whatever, and you strike while the iron's hot with him. And then while you're doing that, you again continue to elevate their game. Maybe you move them from mid-card to facing the bigger guy. Maybe they're not always winning every match against those bigger guys, but you have them do that stuff. That way people can think, okay, This guy, he's earned his stripes here. This guy is a guy that I want to see face these top tier dudes. You know what I mean? Even if you have to make people kind of believe that that's a possibility, then do it. Because maybe people may not be believing in him 100%. You know what I'm saying? Maybe people may not believe in him 100%, but you give them that breakout moment. You continue to elevate their game, showing off their personality, their in-ring skills, their mic skills. You continue to do all of that. And then strike while the iron's hot with them. And you can end up with a golden character on your hands if you do that. I'll give you an example of a mid-card person I've done that. I think I've done it with Austin Wallace, personally. Because he was, because they had this feud, and then people, and on commentary, I was putting over how horrible of a person Wallace is. And then in turn, people start to kind of hate Wallace, or love him, because of how I was putting him over or whatever on commentary. And then I gave him, and then I had the plan on giving, and then I gave him the All-Star Championship. And then he really kind of made that belt for the season. And now Sean has it. Now I have to kind of make something with him with that championship. But people are going to automatically associate that All-Star Championship with Austin Wallace now because of that. And he's a mid-card dude. And he's been a mid-card dude the whole time, never touched the main event scene once. So it's possible. If you're good at booking, if you're good at doing matches, if you're good at doing promo, tech-based segment-wise, whatever, you can give your character that breakout moment. You can give your character that storyline that, is really captivating. You really got people hooked in. And if Strike While the Iron's Hot, hey, you got a golden character on your hand. And that's what you do when you have a call, when you're bringing in somebody that nobody knows about. Now, let's talk about part 2 of this video, in which you bring in people who already got that name value about them. Let's get it. Okay, now the second part of the video, I'm not really going to break up into 2 parts because I'm going to end up just repeating myself. But if you're bringing in someone who already got that name recognition value and you know it, they know it, whatever, listen, you just really got to pick up where that person left off. I mean, pick up like with whatever theme, whatever momentum, whatever gimmick, whatever they got. Because if people see that, let me say it this way. If somebody were to bring in someone like a Rannick to their show, if somebody were to bring in someone like a Ron Buster to their show, and people see it, and people know who they are, and all of that, that expectation level of how they're going to do is already set pretty high. And if you undercut that in any way, I think fans are going to notice. You know what I'm saying? Fans are going to notice if you undercut a guy who's already doing great, who's already done great. We wrestling fans, we criticize WWE for doing that all the time. We always complain how so-and-so is such a great wrestler and they did great over there, but you bring them here and you undercut them. Last thing you want to do is undercut the guys that you bring in. You pick up where they left off. If they were big over there, you bring them in, they still big, if not more so. They do great over there, you bring them in, they probably mess around and win a world championship first night in. That's my advice. If you're bringing in somebody that already got that name recognition value, bring it in hot. You bring it in strong, you pick up where they left off. Because if not, people are going to tell that you undercut it, especially if they know who the talent is. You could probably get away with it if people don't really know who the talent is. Like if somebody were to bring in one of my calls, the only people that would probably realize that, okay, yeah, this dude is being undercut are people that watch my show. That's probably about it. That's probably about it. And I'm only at like 290 something. That, to tell you the truth, ain't really a whole lot of people. But, I love y'all to death, but I'm just keeping it real. If somebody were to bring in my call and like start, not really doing a whole lot with them, starting them out the bottom, what is the deal? That's one thing. But if you bring in someone like a Rannick or a Ron Buster or 2TM or Nick Virgin, whatever. You bring in one of those top level call dudes and you bring them in, you undercut them, whatever, then yeah. Now, cool if you want them to kind of pay their dues and whatever, but they shouldn't be down there long. You know. So that's the thing. Bringing in a call, you do it big. So hopefully that covered transitioning from a new call to, that hopefully covered the transitioning from one call, from bringing in somebody brand new, and hopefully, it's pretty short, but a simple way to say, of bringing in somebody who already got that name recognition value. So, that's it for this Universe Mode tip video. If you like the video, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the other videos and streams on this channel. Spread the word. Spread the word about the channel. Until the next time I see you guys, be a boss, and I will holla at you guys later.